In 2028, 4 astronauts will do something no human has ever done before. They won't just visit the moon, they'll build a home there. Not on the surface, above it, a space station orbiting the moon. This is Artemis 4. And it's not just NASA's most ambitious mission, it might be humanity's most important step since we first walked on the moon. But here's what most people don't understand. Artemis 4 isn't about the moon at all. It's about Mars. It's about survival. It's about becoming a species that lives among the stars. And it starts with a station called Gateway. Let's rewind. What is the Artemis program? After Apollo ended in 1972, humanity abandoned the moon. For 50 years, no human traveled beyond low Earth orbit. The International Space Station, incredible as it is, orbits just 400 kilometers above Earth. The moon? 384,000 kilometers away. In 2017, NASA announced Artemis, named after Apollo's twin sister, the Greek goddess of the moon. The goal? Return humans to the lunar surface, but this time, to stay. Artemis 1 launched in November 2022, an uncrewed test flight. The Orion spacecraft flew around the moon and back. Success. Artemis 2, scheduled for 2025, will carry 4 astronauts around the moon, the first humans to travel that far since 1972. Artemis 3 will land the first woman and first person of color on the lunar surface, using SpaceX's Starship as the landing vehicle. But Artemis 4? Artemis 4 is where everything changes, because Artemis 4 doesn't just visit the moon, it builds infrastructure, permanent infrastructure, starting with Gateway. So what exactly is Artemis 4? Scheduled for September 2028, Artemis 4 is a mission with 2 massive objectives. First, deliver and install the I-HAB module, the International Habitation Module, to the Gateway Station. This is where astronauts will actually live. Second, conduct the first crewed operations aboard Gateway while it orbits the moon. Here's how it works. 4 astronauts launch from Kennedy Space Center aboard NASA's Space Launch System rocket, the most powerful rocket ever built. They travel inside the Orion spacecraft for approximately 4 days to reach lunar orbit. But here's the twist. They won't land on the moon during Artemis 4. Instead, they'll dock with Gateway, a small space station that will already be waiting for them in a special orbit called a Near Rectilinear Halo Orbit, or NRHO. This orbit is brilliant because it allows Gateway to see both the lunar South Pole and maintain communication with Earth almost constantly. Once docked, the crew will install I-HAB, activate its systems, and conduct science experiments. They'll spend approximately 30 days living in humanity's first home beyond Earth orbit. 30 days, orbiting the moon. Let that sink in. Gateway. It's a name that tells you everything. This isn't a destination, it's a gateway, a stepping stone, a base camp for the moon and Mars. Gateway is small compared to the International Space Station. While the ISS is the size of a football field, Gateway will be roughly the size of a studio apartment, about 40 cubic meters of habitable space initially. But don't let size fool you. Every cubic meter is engineered for a purpose. The station consists of several modules. First, the PPE, Power and Propulsion Element. Built by Maxar Technologies, this module provides electricity through massive solar arrays and propulsion to maintain Gateway's orbit. It launched in 2025 as part of the first Gateway delivery. Second, Halo, Habitation and Logistics Outpost. Built by Northrop Grumman, this is the initial crew cabin. Halo provides life support, command and control, and storage. And third, delivered by Artemis 4, the I-HAB, or International Habitation Module. Built by ESA, the European Space Agency, with contributions from JAXA, the Japanese Space Agency. I-HAB adds crucial living space, life support redundancy, and international cooperation. Think about this. Gateway represents humanity working together. American, European, Japanese, Canadian space agencies, all contributing to a station that orbits the moon. When astronauts live on Gateway, they represent not just one nation, but our entire species. That's the real power of Gateway. It's not just engineering, it's unity. Let's talk about I-HAB, the module Artemis 4 will deliver. I-HAB stands for International Habitation Module. It's built by Thales Alenia Space in Italy, under contract from the European Space Agency. This makes it Europe's most significant contribution to human deep space exploration. The module is approximately 10 meters long and provides life support systems, sleeping quarters, and workstations. It features a large window, the largest ever flown on a spacecraft, giving astronauts a view of the Moon and Earth that no human has ever had continuously. Inside I-HAB, astronauts will sleep in dedicated crew quarters, the first private sleeping spaces beyond Earth orbit. Conduct scientific research in microgravity while orbiting the Moon. Exercise to maintain bone and muscle health during their 30-day missions. And communicate with Earth and future lunar surface crews. Imagine waking up, floating to that window, and seeing the Moon's south pole below you, where humans will soon walk. Then, turning your head and seeing Earth, a small blue dot in an infinite black void. That's not science fiction. That's 2028. Every mission needs its heroes. Who will fly Artemis 4? As of now, NASA hasn't announced the specific crew, but we know it will be 4 astronauts, commander, pilot, and 2 mission specialists. At least one will be an international partner astronaut, likely from ESA or JAXA, reflecting Gateway's collaborative nature. What we do know is what they'll face. These astronauts will be farther from Earth than any human has lived for an extended period. The ISS crew can return to Earth in hours if there's an emergency. Gateway crew? Days, at best. They'll experience something called Earth out of view situations, where our planet isn't visible. Psychologically, this is uncharted territory. They'll be bombarded by cosmic radiation without Earth's protective magnetic field. Galactic cosmic rays, particles from exploding stars, will pass through their bodies daily. And they'll do all this while building and activating a space station. When NASA announces the Artemis 4 crew, remember this. These won't just be astronauts. They'll be the most isolated humans in history, doing the most complex construction project in history, farther from home than anyone has ever worked. That's not just bravery, that's a different category of courage. Artemis 4 isn't just about going somewhere new, it's about doing things in new ways. Let's talk spacesuits. The Apollo astronauts wore suits designed in the 1960s. NASA's current ISS suits? Designed in the 1980s. They're showing their age. For Artemis, NASA partnered with Axiom Space to develop the xEMU, the Axiom Extravehicular Mobility Unit. These suits are revolutionary. Better mobility. Astronauts can actually walk, kneel, and pick up objects naturally. Enhanced life support, longer EVA times, better temperature control, improved communications, HD cameras, better audio. And perhaps most importantly, they're designed to fit a wider range of body types. Remember, Artemis will put the first woman on the Moon. The suits need to fit everyone. But it's not just suits. Artemis 4 will test advanced life support systems on Gateway, recycling water from humidity and eventually from waste. Every drop matters when resupply missions take weeks to arrive. And Gateway's solar electric propulsion system is 10 times more efficient than traditional chemical rockets. This technology will eventually take us to Mars. Everything on Artemis 4 is a stepping stone. Every system, every test, every challenge solved brings us closer to becoming a multi-planetary species. Here's what most coverage of Artemis misses. The Moon is not the goal. Mars is. NASA calls it the Moon to Mars program for a reason. Every Artemis mission is a rehearsal. Gateway is a testbed. The Moon is a proving ground. Why? Because Mars is hard. The journey takes 7 months minimum. No rescue possible. Communication delays up to 24 minutes each way. Total isolation for potentially 3 years. You can't send humans to Mars without knowing. How do bodies handle deep space radiation long term? Gateway will tell us. How do life support systems perform beyond Earth's protection? Gateway will tell us. How do crews maintain psychological health in isolation? Gateway will tell us. Artemis 4 astronauts spending 30 days on Gateway? That's a baby step toward a 30-month Mars mission. When you watch Artemis 4 launch in 2028, you're not watching a moon mission. You're watching the first real chapter of humanity becoming interplanetary. The Moon is the classroom. Mars is the destination. September 2028. Mark your calendar. That's the current target for Artemis 4 launch. 4 astronauts, Orion spacecraft, Gateway Station, I-HAB module, 30 days orbiting the Moon. 56 years after Apollo 17 astronaut Gene Cernan left the last human footprints on the Moon, we're going back. But this time, we're not leaving. Artemis 4 represents everything we can achieve when we work together. American engineering, European habitation, Japanese technology, Canadian robotics, human determination. When those 4 astronauts dock with Gateway and look out that I-HAB window at the Moon below them and Earth far away, they'll see what we rarely see: how small we are, how precious our world is, and how much potential we have when we reach beyond it. The Artemis generation is here, and in 2028, we take the next giant leap. See you at the launch!